What's going on, YouTube? Hello, hello. Make sure this thing on. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. All right. Looks good. So today, let me just preface this again. Like I'm gonna in every single Mental Health Monday. I am not a professional. I am currently studying as a um, master students for clinical counseling. So eventually, I will be able to practice these therapies, techniques, and anything else we may talk about in an actual session. But for right now, this is just kind of bring more awareness to mental health and kind of everything surrounding it. So today we are talking about boundaries and um, kind of getting through life with all of the stressful thing, kind of staying sane, as the one person on Instagram um, sent me. So I reached out to my Instagram followers and to ask for topics and ideas to talk about in mental health area. And two of them, one of them said boundaries, and the other one was how to stay sane with all of life's responsibilities. So um, kind of seeing that, I was able to kind of combine the two because boundaries are a huge thing when it comes to trying to stay sane. We kind of stay away from some of that terminology, my boy Mitch, just because it has a negative connotation in it. I know you meant no harm by it, but I'm just saying, like, that's why I put those air quotations. Because if you're not sane, then you're insane, and it's just negative words kind of s- creating a more of a stigma around mental health. So, kind of just continuing on. Boundaries, basically, what it is. I mean, it's just like you sound the name. If you know what boundaries, like in anything, like sports, it's something that contains yourself. So, boundaries in life, in your work profession, in with your friends, with your romantic relationships, boundaries kind of are able to kind of know, it's a form of self-awareness of how far you know about your limits. So boundaries can extend, let's say for an example, I can do 3 tasks a day 100% of to my ability, but I also could technically do um 20 activities in a day, but they may only be about 40% of my ability. So knowing my boundaries are that I'm able to do 3 of these things to the best of my ability, and I don't want to extend anymore because then I lose some of the quality that I'm able to create. And it's just kind of like some similar around that. So that's what is it charging? Sorry. Um but yeah, so it just kind of has to do with that. Good boundary setting is good for relationships, like I mentioned before, just maybe with friends. Sometimes our friends get a little silly, and whether it may be they may say something dumb or something that you don't agree with, and it may not be something that you want to be a part of, but not saying anything and kind of advocating for yourself is kind of letting them step over that boundary. And if you let them step over that boundary once, twice, maybe 3 times, they're more likely to kind of continue on and step over that boundary. Similar with romantic relationships. If your partner is doing something that you don't like, and it's kind of and you feel emotionally drained, or you're feeling used, or maybe even violated, that's um that's them stepping over the boundary that you may have for yourself. But it also comes down to you voicing that boundary. You need to be able to talk comfortably and, well, practice self-awareness to know your own boundaries, because that's just going to help your relationship grow and know allow your partner to know kind of how far you guys can take it or talk about, or whatever that you guys may be talking about. It can arrange from, or it can go from anywhere from, like, how you guys speak to one another, your jokes. Sometimes people have kind of a shortened boundary when it comes to jokes, because they may have experienced something that they may not be comfortable with talking about, or something along the lines like of that. So these boundaries are very important to talk about when it comes to any relationship. Even just knowing yourself, the relationship with yourself is super important too. You need to know what you can handle, what you can't. My mom has always told me that I constantly take all I spread myself too thin. I do that a lot, and it's taken me a year or two to really figure out that that is something that I do, and I need to really understand my boundaries so that way I don't spread myself too thin and kind of overexert myself to the point of exhaustion. And kind of when I do that, I end up not wanting to do more stuff. I kind of want to shut down, kind of isolate and leave. And that's how I've come to know some of my boundaries and know really, like, my self-awareness and what I can do. But when it comes to life and everything that comes around with it, the car insurance, the assignments, the work assignments, the remaining social, the staying fit if that's in your life, or just making sure that everything's kind of going as smooth as possible, that takes a lot of stress and it takes a lot of focus, and that's not even accounting for some of the hiccups in life that may happen, the flat tire that may not be expecting. Hopefully not, but maybe a car accident, or maybe you broke your phone and you can't communicate. These are all things that contribute to stressful life, anxiety, depression, any other thing that may affect your mental health. And to stay sane, I think kind of know your boundaries, especially maybe financial boundaries when I'm talking about something car related, knowing that you have maybe a safety fund just in case your car, just knowing that you're not spending money and too much money, and keeping that boundary set and sticking to that boundary and knowing that this is what I'm going to stick to regardless. I have $500. I'm not going to spend over $100 this weekend because that would put me below $500. Setting that boundary for yourself can just benefit yourself, your mental capacity, your mental health within yourself, as long and as you learn that and you learn more about yourself and what you can and cannot handle, that just goes to show your integrity and your strength and kind of everything that's kind of coming out of you. And then this can be implemented, like I mentioned before, to relationships, and it's important because it helps to everything from your actual mental health to your actual well-being. um Sometimes when it comes to families may be able to, or may think that they're able to step over boundaries that are set, and it may be hard to talk to your family about it. But if you do talk about it in a non-confrontational way, non-aggressive way, but still be assertive and advocate for yourself, it may benefit you in the long run. Boundaries, sometimes families don't think that boundaries apply to them per se, and it's important to, if it's your boundary and you're setting it, that you need to be able to cut it off when it gets to that boundary. You need to be able to, hey, this is as far as I can go. And I think that will really help kind of stay sane in all of life's responsibilities, just because you need to be able to set some time to do your work and get your work done with your job, but you also need to relax just as much. So like you said, or my friend Mitch reached out, Sturkenberg. He said he was the one that offered this topic, and I think if I had to give any advice, I mean, again, let me make this clear. As a therapist, we never give advice, but this is just talking about it. So not so much advice, but kind of just in reference to boundary setting. If you have a lot of things to do for work and and you're putting a big chunk of the time of the day to get this work done, just make sure you're also putting some time and setting boundary for you to reach that goal of self-care too. And you need to set like all this work that you're doing to really, you may be doing some really great work and really pushing yourself, but you need to relax just as intensely as you worked in that scenario. That's one of my favorite quotes. So um just really knowing your boundaries, knowing yourself, practicing self-awareness. How far can I go until I feel exhausted? And maybe shortening that just a little bit, because you don't want to just go until exhaustion, because then that's when something else might happen. You might need to prov- um not provide. You may need to proceed and continue on and produce more work essentially. But if you're working till exhaustion and not setting any boundaries to recuperate, recenter yourself, then it's going to allow life's responsibilities to become too overwhelming, and then you're kind of just grasping for straws or trying to swim up. You may feel like you're drowning, and that can be a dangerous cycle to kind of get into. But boundaries are super important. I cannot, and establishing them is very hard. It can be very hard because it kind of takes in having to reflect a little bit and knowing what you can and cannot do. And we always want to say strive for as great as you can, do as best as you can, do it, work hard, but you need to take some time to yourself too. That's so important. And people, especially in this day and age with the work environment and um always grinding, always hustling. No, you don't always have to be. It's you can grind, you can be successful, but you still can also take time for your mental health. Your mental health may be trash if you're doing something along the lines of never stop working and never kind of repaying yourself. I mean, you know yourself the longest out of anybody. That's just a fact. It comes down to it that the one you spend the most time with is yourself. So you need to practice learning about yourself and really kind of diving into who you are and continuing on as far as you can with that. And part of that is knowing your boundaries and how far you're able to go and knowing when to stop and being okay with knowing when to stop. A lot of people struggle with that part. They may feel guilty. Some other people may imply that they aren't doing as much as that they can to accommodate for them, and that's when you may start feeling feelings of being used or just emotionally drained. And this is a sign that they may have overstepped their boundaries. They may have overstepped your boundaries. And if you're feeling like this, kind of reflect, take some time to really think about it. Like, are some of your friends just implying that you need to do more for them and the relationship? And are you doing enough? Are they doing enough to it? Are you being reciprocated for the work that you're putting in? And if not, maybe it's time to have a talk, and a nice talk. Obviously, I'm not saying just like start an argument. That's never what I'm going for. But when it comes to really thinking about it, you might need to have a conversation. A conversation can definitely come and end up helping you in the long run. And because then that helps to really get you to think about your own boundaries and how far you're able to go, how far you're willing to go, and how far you should go. Those are all different, and they may be different levels. And when it comes to certain activities and anything that may revolve around um, life's life things. I mean, anything that's going on in your life. So I think this is a good talk. I can definitely go into more in depth. I found this good article by Good Therapy. It just talks about kind of understanding boundaries and why your boundaries are important. I'll just read a little bit about it. So it says healthy boundaries serve an important function for allowing people to take responsibility for themselves and their actions while helping them avoid being in a position where they are unfairly or inappropriately take responsibility for those emotions and needs of others. So when you feel maybe you're putting everything, all this weight on your shoulders, and you're feeling kind of just down and exhausted, this is kind of this is where boundaries are important, especially in therapy. Um, we talk about these boundaries as a client and counselor relationship continues on. You can be maybe very friendly, but it still needs to have that sense of professionality. I don't even know if that's a word. Professionality sounds right. Um, yeah. So I have a comment right here. Dylan McGinley, my little bro. He says, "I feel like people Hold I feel like they can't relax because of how constant life is. So they're trying to push themselves to extremes." And I fully agree with that. I mean, with this individualistic, um, capitalistic world, we they sell us the idea that we need to really just push ourselves and work us to the bone to succeed, and that's just not true. I mean, if you really take a step back and think about what you're capable of doing and finding just different ways to really maximize outcome without it being at the extent of your physicality, your mentality. It's a very unfortunate and kind of new lifestyle that is being pushed on our generation, and something that really needs to focus on. So um along with that, I think that is a very important topic that is happening right now, and life is very constant. There is kind of no let up, and it is kind of it is exhausting. I mean, I feel exhausted. I just got done with finals. I mean, I know some people are still going to finals, and you're probably feeling exhausted too. But as you're studying for finals and feeling this exhaustion along with everything else that life, making sure you're talking to your family every once in a while, calling back mom and dad, maybe you commute to school, or maybe you live far away now. There's just so much that we have to juggle, and just know that the stress and the feeling that you're just know that you're growing, and that's an important thing too, because a lot of people feel like, oh, I'm very stagnant because I'm still exhausted, I'm still tired. Just know that you're growing, and maybe look into the boundary setting, knowing what you're able to do, knowing that you're taking time for yourself, taking responsibility for maybe the things that you have done. I mean, anything can be a boundary setting, and I think people should really kind of focus and learn about it and how to do it healthy and in a beneficial way to themselves. Because sometimes family can be overbearing. They can be exhausting too. I mean, that happens. Friends can definitely be overbearing, especially with college. If or even just not even in college, but I just know college. Sometimes friends were just too overbearing, too overexhausting, and they wished you could do more for them. And although you feel like you might need to or want to, it may not be in your best interest to, because you're gonna be end up feeling exhaustion. You're gonna take a little bit off. You're gonna bite. What is that? Take a bite that's too big to chew. And I think boundary setting is an important factor that we don't really teach a lot. It's not really taught in schools, and because even in schools, there's this need to constantly succeed and not fall behind. And although that may benefit some students, it may feel like it's too overbearing for others. And I think boundary setting can help both of them in that instance. Someone who's maybe succeeding and passing with all A's, they may be just barely keeping afloat when it comes to all the responsibilities and everything that comes with life. It's just, it can be so much all the time. And I think really just taking that time out, and like I mentioned in previous ones, self-care, and really just doing something for yourself that really kind of just helps you kind of reset your brain and really just kind of recenter yourself is something that will help you significantly. And I think self-care is actually part is all is very closely related to boundary setting. Knowing that if you need something to kind of reset, that's knowing a boundary. That if you've done so much work, you've done so much studying, and the best way right now is to kind of reward yourself with something. That's knowing a barrier, and that's a you may not realize it, but it is. It's, you know, how far you're able to go, and you know that, oh, I'm mentally drained from school. Oh, I studied so much tonight in the library, but I need some time to myself. That's knowing a boundary. And I think some people don't realize that, and they don't really kind of reflect on it a little bit. But I think reflecting on it can definitely help, one, your mental health, and two, just being able to know who you are, what you're capable of. Your social aspect of life is not the same level as your school life. So you may be able to push limits and hang out with a lot of people all the time and be really social, but and then your boundary may be up here, but with school it may be down here, and that's okay. That's just understanding that is part of growing. You don't need to have them at the same level, because when they're all at the same level and you're pushing them higher and higher all at the same time, that's when you become too over or exhausted, and you're just too tired, and it just becomes like emotionally drained, physically drained, just everything just feels too much. And life can do that. Life can pile on really quick, and it's unfortunate, but I am glad that mental health is becoming more of a talking point. People are talking about it more. People are seeking therapy strictly for things like this. But I think if you're not seeking therapy, but you are feeling the weight of life, or your friends, or anything kind of like that, maybe reflect on boundaries. Search it up, Google it. There's a lot of good things, good articles that talk about boundaries and knowing what you're capable of and how to measure yourself of what you are capable of. Um, Listen to your body. If you're feeling overexhausted, if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling fatigue or mental fatigue, you got to listen to it. You can't just push through it. And a lot of people, especially in this day and age, like Dylan mentioned in the comments, life is so constant, and we feel the need that we have to succeed and keep pushing these extremes, and it that becomes so overbearing. And because we feel that other people are doing, and we looking at others who are succeeding, and we feel the need that we have to do that too. They're succeeding, that means I'm succeeding. Like, it's maybe my life's not that bad. Like, look at them, like they're succeeding, they're doing well. But you don't know what they're going through either. That's the thing. And I think a lot of our generation has become good at masking what we're going through and kind of hiding the fact that we may be struggling, but I'm going to push something good that I'm doing. I'm going to push um, this brand new car that I bought. When in reality, like you feel like you just can't even afford the car, like something like along the lines of that. So when you see these successes of other people, don't compare yourself. It's just that's a dangerous game. I think there's a quote. Let me see if I can come up with it. Oh, comparison is the thief of joy. So when you start to compare yourself to other people, that's when you lose all of joy because you don't even get a sense of fulfillment when you do succeed yourself. You because you there's always somebody to compare to that's better than you. So learn to be okay with what you've accomplished, everything that you've done today. When you go to bed, even if it's one thing, just be happy with it. Not just be happy with it, sorry. Be okay because maybe that's what you set yourself for the boundary for the day. Even if that one thing was setting some time and not doing anything school related, you still succeeded in that. So when you take your mentality and really think about it, try to focus on reframing maybe the what's going on. So I think we talked a lot about boundaries today. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing me talk about it. If not, oh, we got another comment. DJ Lakey, sometimes the best reward you can have is enjoying the small things that you truly enjoy. And that's a huge one, DJ. Thank you for commenting that. It is. I agree. I mean, I think just it may be the small things, but it's something that you can control. It's something that you can reward yourself with. And I think that's super important because even though it may be small, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, as long as it's important to you. Um, it could be something along the lines of just going on a simple walk, like knowing that boundary, like something that you can control in that time of age. I know when it comes in studying, and I can only study for maybe 30 minutes max, but then I take like a 15-20 minute break and I watch a YouTube video or I paint or I draw, something like that, something small, something I can do quick. But that's just the best reward for me because then I feel energized. I feel kind of recentered a little bit, and then I can go back to studying. And like that's knowing my boundaries. Like I know I can only study for 30, and I never try to push that because I know I can go back later and do that, and I set some time for it. But just rewarding yourself, like we don't see that enough, and I think that it contributes to because there's this like ideology surrounding that if you reward yourself you have to feel guilty because you're not grinding, you're not working anymore, you're giving yourself something like, and I just think that's silly. Like you deserve rewards, like you're working hard. Like I don't know who's watching this, but you're working your butt off and you're doing things that others people might see and might not appreciate, but as long as you know you're working towards something, you have a goal, even if it doesn't have to be a tremendous goal. It's just a goal that you're working towards, something that there's still movement towards. And I think that's an important thing. And again, that falls in with knowing your boundaries. You may not have to succeed today, you may not have to succeed in a month, you may not have to succeed in a year, but knowing the boundary of working towards something and rewarding yourself something when you get part of that done, because rewarding yourself is going to kind of motivate and help you kind of push forward. And I want to thank you for that comment. I think that's a very important reflection when it comes to kind of just rewarding yourself, and that's just it's just a good thing to really kind of focus on and be willing to do. A lot of people aren't willing to reward themselves nowadays, and it's sad because they deserve it. People deserve rewards. Like we're not just machines, we're not just here to do work and make money. Like that's not what it's here for. Like it's life. Find some things you enjoy and continue to do them, and even if it's just a reward, like just practice it and do your best, and don't forget to reward yourself, love yourself, and kind of just take care of your your mental health. That's again, this is what it's for. I'm glad we're some people are commenting. I appreciate all these comments. I love just getting other people's perspectives on a lot of things. That's one of my favorite things about life. Just really hearing other people out. and just kind of understanding what they might be going through, what they may be going through, what how they're thinking, because other people, everyone's voice deserves to be heard. I'm glad people are reaching out and we're able to talk about mental health. Thank you for watching. This was a little bit longer, but we had some people comment, so I had to talk about it. I love. We'll go super long if people talk about it. Uh, thank you, DJ. I will keep them coming. I appreciate you hopping in this live stream and just trying to learn and talk more about mental health. I can't stress it enough. Take care of it. So, um, thank you guys for watching. I will catch you guys next video. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you next Mental Health Monday. I have some more videos coming along in the week, so make sure you check those out too if it's something you're interested in. And feel free to comment, DM me. It doesn't even have to be. It can be out of the blue. It's something you want me to talk about Mental Health Monday. I'm always looking for topics to talk about, and I just loves bring up a conversation, because a conversation is how progress gets started. So work on your mental health if you can. Hopefully these can help you kind of address yourself, self-assess, and self-reflect. That's huge and very important um, in growing. So I hope these videos can help, and I will catch you guys next video. So see you guys next Monday.